Good morning. We are live and we are both in the Phoenix area. I'm here with Michelle Bosch. How are you, Michelle?
I am doing wonderful. It's an honor to be here with you today, Allie.
Yeah, things are great in Paradise Valley, aren't they?
Yes, it's beautiful. We've had glorious days in spite of, the self-quarantine, and it's exciting. It's going to get warmer in a little bit, but therefore pool time is here.
Pool time's here. At least we could throw the kids in the pool.
Yeah,
I mean, at the very least, it keeps them busy. That's kept them busy. It's been our saving grace the last month or two.
The same here.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us this morning. This is actually going to be the last show of this kind of streak. I guess we'll call it a season of We Lead Live that I've been doing. And I've been bringing you these incredible 7, 8-figure women entrepreneurs. I know some of the just really real astute thinkers in their industries to talk about not only sharing, what their perspective is on everything going on right now, which we don't even need to clarify, but really what's going on behind the scenes in their business. What are some moves that have made? What are the decisions and, strategic decisions, especially that they are making during this time? Yeah. And, as we talk right now, Michelle, it's interesting because we're, in Arizona, we're very lucky. I feel that we've had a good run with this, better than a lot of states. There are some people that are still very much under lockdown. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, though, no matter where we are. The news is trying to terrify us no matter what. It's hard to make decisions and plans right now in our businesses. So I'm going to be asking you a lot about that today. Yeah, but I'd love to start. Give a little context on your story, because it is such a touching story on how you became interested in real estate and land investing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am an immigrant from Honduras into the U.S. I came to the U.S. in 1995. I came to study. I got my MBA, got a corporate job. That corporate job was, our ticket to a green card. I say our because it was the same for my husband. My husband is also an immigrant into the U.S. But we found ourselves, years into it completely, deeply unfulfilled, no freedom. Our paychecks did not definitely meet the time and effort that we were putting into those jobs. And we started looking elsewhere. And our very first place that we thought of was, real estate. Back home, my father, when I was very young, or even actually prior to me even being born, had made a decision to invest in a piece of commercial real estate back home. And, he passed away when I was very, very young. That piece of commercial real estate was responsible for my ability, with my mother as a single mom, an elementary teacher, the salary of an elementary teacher, allowed her to, put me in private school, be able to go learn English, be able to, speak to you right now, in a different language, put me through school, through university. And so I knew that we needed to do something in real estate because it is something that is so tangible. It really allows, for you to create wealth, generational wealth, like, he had done for us, with that single, decision to invest in a piece of real estate. It wasn't his, high shot lawyer profession that got us through financially. It was that one thing that he did. And so we started looking at houses, and then realized very quickly that part of us being immigrants here meant we had no idea on how to, assess repairs, estimate foundation issues, roofing, kitchen. There's so many moving pieces when you're looking at houses. And we stumbled into land. And, over the last, 18, 19 years, we've perfected a model where, we buy and sell land for, we buy it for 5 to 25 cents on the dollar, sell it for 60, 80, 100% of market value. And we, we decided to kind of like hunker down for many years, focus on that. 2008 came around and we were still doing deals. Everyone was losing their shirt. And we recognized what an incredibly, recession resistant asset class that was. And it allowed us to produce, cash profits from the wholesaling, passive cash flow from being able to sell it with seller financing. Now we've done, over 4,000 deals, created an 8-figure, company out of that, with $70,000 worth of cash flow per month. And then at that point we realized, wow, it's time to start investing here in Phoenix, perhaps in houses. After doing land for so long, we're like, let's start doing some buy and hold portfolios. And we started, of course, in our backyard. Phoenix was for sale in 2009, and we were able to buy $50,000 homes, rent them for $900, $1,000. And so we built a nice portfolio here. Then we moved to 2 other markets. And then in 2015, we started investing in large apartments. And what I mean by large apartments is 100 units at a time. But land continues to be the cornerstone of what we do, of our wealth. It's an asset class that has allowed us to live, the freedom of money, time, relationships, purpose. Because now we also share that with others,
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the background story, but it comes, I think, from a dark night of the soul, from being unfulfilled in corporate jobs and, looking elsewhere. And then the very first thing, that I thought of was like, okay, I think real estate is one thing that we can explore. It wasn't what we started with, which was houses, that didn't work out, but that eventually worked out, years later. So
Yeah.
It worked out really, really well, because like I said, in 2008, while everyone was losing their shirts, we were investing, we were buying, we were being, contrarians, very taking a long-term approach. And that's what exactly we're doing right now, Ali. There's differences now in that we have 38.6 million people, that have filed unemployment versus back in 2008, and, it was all more like 8 million people. So it's a completely different ball game. So I'm speaking with humility, but at the same time with experience, that there's going to be opportunities in the real estate market to capitalize on. And we have been, preparing and positioning ourselves for that. And that's kind of like where we're at. It hasn't come with incredible amounts of pivoting, in both our lines of businesses, because we invest in real estate, but we also educate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been a fun 8 to 10 weeks. It's been hard work, but fun.
And it's so interesting to hear this flip perspective, because, this is what you have to remember, everybody. Every market has some opportunities. It just shifts. It shifts where they are. And I think that this is where I want women to start thinking bigger. There's something else you mentioned that I love echoing. And I did this when you were on stage at Iconic as well. And I really emphasize this to the audience. I don't know if it was a cultural thing or just your family really emphasized that generational wealth, passing it on. Yeah. I think for many of us in America, that's a new concept. It's also because we are, many of us, the first real breadwinners of our families, in it going down, in our ancestry. Yeah. It's a new type of power. It's a new type of dilemma too. Like, money is new for women in the scheme of things, in the grand timeline. So, we've just figured out how to earn it and work it and invest it. And now, like, oh, let's think about the next generation too. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of women who are watching, and men. And one of the reasons I love having you on my show is to talk about this, is because that's how it all started. Now, those of you listening to Michelle right now, you'll hear too that she's not just writing a book report on this. Like, this is like, they hold, $40 million in real estate holdings. But let's talk a bit about the land flipping, because that was an interesting shift. And I know that that's your focus now, really, to help most people get started easily.
Yeah. So land, what happens with land is that it doesn't have all the moving pieces that you would have on a typical home that you're trying to rehab and then sell for profit, or wholesale. And what the best thing, in my opinion, is that it's an asset class. It's a gap in the real estate market. Nobody thinks about this. When everybody thinks about real estate, the last thing that comes to your mind is land. And so therefore there's no competition, like virtually no competition. You have, hundreds of thousands of people trying to, find deals in the housing world. And then there's us, the very, the oddballs, very few little people that can see the opportunity. And I think for us, it was part of being immigrants that allowed us to be able to see those opportunities and seize them. And then, if you add that another ingredient with this, which is fear of hard work, we were able to really capitalize on that. And And right now, it's something that we can do from home, remotely, absolutely remotely. Like, I wake up every single morning, Allie, with an immense amount of gratitude because we can move forward in that business, and even with the pandemic, we've been able to do, deals, and it's not just us, but, our clients as well, having 60, 80, 100, 127, $190,000 paydays, even during a pandemic, just from a land flip, you know what I mean? So from wholesaling a piece of land, buying it cheap and selling it high. And right now, actually, with people being cooped up, the demand has skyrocketed for properties in the path of growth or recreational land, because people want to, be able to not have to wear a mask and just enjoy themselves, in the outdoors. So we've seen an incredible demand. We cannot, we can't keep inventory long enough. We have to keep on buying and buying and buying to be able to satisfy the demand. And I think that is something that is particular, I think, to the situation that we're living right now, with people being cooped up at home, because we did see, a resistance to, an economic downturn in 2008, but not the crazy demand that we're seeing right now. And I think it comes with people being stuck at home and wanting to have a place to go out, on the weekends, or with a family, or with vacations completely, down the drain because nobody can travel, overseas or whatever. People are just looking for other alternatives here within the U.S. So it's a great time, to be in the land space. And so we're putting the pedal to the metal. We're doubling down on, on our marketing on that end, and just, pouring quite a bit of money into marketing to be able to have the influx in our pipeline of properties coming in so that we can satisfy the demand. So that for us is number one priority, along with, on the large apartments, collections were at around 96%.
Yeah. How is that part of the business doing? Let's talk about that, because that's interesting, because you're at a time now, you own and invest in these large apartment buildings. Before I flip there, tell people where to go to learn more about the land profit generator.
Well, we're having a master class in June, so you can go to landprofitmaster.com. And we'll be teaching a 5-day class on everything land, and super excited about that. We just finished the class on Tuesday, and we're already heading for the next one because people are like, we want more, so we're giving you more. So so the on the apartment side, what has been happening is that we have properties in 3 markets. All 3 markets, we have been very strategic about where we invest in terms of having a source of employment that is either government-based, of some sort. So all 3 properties are very close to big military bases, where we're a little bit insulated from, people that are renting our properties that have jobs that have completely disappeared because, they are government employees of some sort. So that has been one factor. But the second factor, I think, has been in really communicating to our, tenant base all across 3 markets that, the stimulus money is expected to be used to pay rent, because it's a slippery slope, when you have a situation where the government is saying, hey, we are, not letting right now property owners evict you, and evictions have been, stopped for some time. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be paying your rent. You know what I mean? So we've been very clear in terms of, yes, we are living a crisis, and I don't ever want to have to kick someone out that is sick. You know what I mean? But we also are being firm in that the expectation is that, rents should be paid, because we in turn have to pay mortgages and so on and so forth.
Right.
And we have expenses with, related to the operation of the property and making sure that maintenance is happening and so on and so forth. And so it has worked out really, really well. Like I said, 90 to 96% collection rates all across the board in the portfolio. So we're very, very pleased with that. And there's going to be a great opportunity there, because what has happened, I think, is in the last couple years, there's been a lot of people going into commercial, into large multifamily that expected, rent increases, that assumed in their financial forecasting, hefty rent, increases for their properties that are not going to be able to be realized, and that are not very well capitalized as a result of that. And then they're going to be losing their property. So for us that invest and want to go buy more, 6 to 12 months down the road, there's going to be opportunities for us to go buy from pretty much inexperienced operators, that have bought recently and that really may have not forecasted, worst case scenarios like the one that we're living right now.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about that, because I was wondering, in that side of the business, how it was affected, but it sounds like you've handled it really well. How are things going at home with, you're with Jack all the time anyway, but I'm just curious, you don't live too far from me, but we don't get to talk much unless we're on a call together. So how are things going with you and with Sophia?
So everything, I think, for us hasn't changed a whole lot just because we were working from home already. What has changed, of course, is the fact that now Sophia is at home, every single day. Thank goodness for an incredibly strong remote learning, program from her school. But nevertheless, having situations, 8 weeks ago when we were trying to, pivot to higher priced properties on the land space. So positioning the investing side towards that, cleaning house on the educational side, because, all of a sudden live events were gone and we had to virtualize everything, and it was round the clock working. And that, along with, can you help me with math? Or I have this, this written assignment to do. And I'm like, oh my God, Sophia, please go try it out yourself. And if you can't, work it out, I'm going to help you after 4 p.m.
I think I'm lucky because today the twins, the biggest thing they're doing online today, it's like crazy hat day or something. I mean, they're 7, they're turning 7. So their school Sophia, just still has this cute stuff, and they're not asking for too much help yet. So I think I'm lucky.
Here, it was like permutations and probabilities, because we're in 6th grade. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember that, from school. But I have to say, we've been very blessed. She's very self-directed, very responsible. And the school has done an amazing job with their remote learning. So it wasn't as bad as we expected. And it's just that I wish I would have had right now a little bit more time for her, for sure, because we were scrambling, trying to refocus and pivot and hire. A lot of people are letting go of people right now. We are actually hiring. So onboarding people, training them, getting them aligned with the vision of where we're going, especially right now, because there's not going to be, I don't foresee us, at least here in the state of Arizona, being able to have a 200 people event for the next year, so completely pivoting that over on the educational space, and just making sure that, at the beginning, on the investing side, at the beginning of the month, when rent is due, in contact with our property management companies and so on and so forth, so that we could communicate to our investors, because we syndicate these apartment buildings, and, there's other people that are investing with us that I have a fiduciary responsibility, because we're, they have their lifelong savings, invested in a piece of real estate right now with us. So it was a little bit of a juggling. Never has this mindset thing that, people talk about been much more a necessity than now. Every single day, choosing to be powerful, choosing to, moment by moment, choose the right thoughts, choose the right actions. You know what I mean? That are going to bring you to that next level, or that are going to help you go through any, whatever transitionary difficulties that you're going through. It has been a test of like inner strength, of fortitude, of strategy, of like really thinking outside the box, of innovation. Ali, we have done more innovation in our business in the last 10 weeks than I think we've done in 5 years.
Yeah. So, let's talk about that. You mentioned the mindset, which, when people talk about that on its own, it's not that helpful, right? When you hear about it in context from someone like you and the women that we surround ourselves with, it's such an incredible power behind that. And there's something that I've mentioned on previous show, and I'll mention it again. Not only during this time are we going to see, and are starting to see, unprecedented income inequality, right, from where people are, but there is a correlating mindset inequality. And I do think there's overlap, and they can bleed into each other, because you see some people have been very successful but still have that lack mindset and are in a different place. Tell me how important that is when you wake up, how you choose to approach your day. And by the way, because I work closely with Michelle, I'll share that, there were some weeks that you were making some big decisions behind the scenes, shifting team. I mean, the whole live event, cancel, get everybody online. How are we going to deliver this? I mean, it's every morning choosing how you're going to respond to this. Talk about how important that is to you.
Yeah, it was it was a time period where definitely you had to have prepared for it in terms of building up grit, resiliency, and just outside the box thinking, adaptability. You know what I mean? And then we were all forced. It was a situation where I think across the board, no matter what industry you're in, we've been all forced to innovate, and you have no choice. And when you have no choice, whether you feel like it or you're scared or fearful, you got to do what you have to do. You know what I mean? And I think that demonstration also of courage and of willingness to do short-term sacrifices for long-term results has really made an impact in our team as well. And that energy then, kind of like flows like an upward spiral, and everyone else in the team is being held up, almost like a container is being created. And us as leaders, it's our responsibility to manage that for our teams. And it starts with us, you know what I mean? And so yeah, it was a matter of like, okay, yesterday I dealt with this, it was issues and problems that would have put anyone, in a fetal position.
Not wanting to get up in the morning. Yeah,
exactly. And now, but I was able to resource it, to be resourceful, to figure it out. And so then with that, your confidence is built for the next day when, the next thing comes up, and okay, I'm ready because I was able to do it, now successfully for the last 8 weeks. So what's next? I'm ready for the next thing. And it's just that building up of confidence, I think, and willing to trust yourself that you can figure it out, that you can be resourceful, that if you have a vision that is pulling you, forward, that no matter what comes your way, that you can handle it. I think that has been the biggest thing for me, and just choosing moment by moment my thoughts. There were moments where, and we all have them, when you're like, oh crap, so what are we gonna do now? And you have, you have to give yourself some grace, because you need to have such moments as well. But then immediately, I think all entrepreneurs have this incredible curiosity and need for innovation, that you're like, okay, let me snap out of this. I need to, I've given myself the grace. Let me now start getting into action. And this is what we need to do. And then enrolling everyone in the team, really casting a vision for them of where we're going, and whoever comes with us and is aligned with that vision is coming, and whoever's not, had to go. And those were some of the difficult decisions that we had to make. It was an incredibly cleansing experience for us, in that, we had team members that perhaps we hadn't had these difficult conversations before, because there was no big pressure to have them. And all of a sudden you're in a situation where you have to have
when
them.
things are normal and everything's going well, you're like, well, you kind of tolerate some things too sometimes, because you're like, it's working, we'll deal with that later. And now it's an exciting time. I have so many clients making team changes, program changes, and man, they're going to come out the other side so much stronger. And I just want to
already we're there.
I want to point out something else to all of you listening. This is what I do in my podcast, by the way, too, Glambition Radio. If you like these women, you want to go listen to that. We're on iTunes, Spotify, the platforms I don't even know of. We're there. But I always want to take a moment and point out a coaching moment. And I want to point out something about Michelle. I want to point out something about all the women that I have been interviewing. They are so on purpose. Yeah. If you are waking up and you are reading the news all day, and you are checking your Facebook feed all day. And again, like, we use Facebook for business, but like if you're sucked into, crazy Uncle Earl is posting that crazy stuff again, just turn it off, get on purpose. And if you feel like you don't have a purpose right now, pick a project. Yeah. And what Michelle does is a fantastic. The land profit generator system, I've seen so many great success stories. I know some of my clients have even purchased it to have their family members do that, and they do deals together, like your brother's out of a job, here, let's do this together. I'll buy you the kit, you do the work, we'll split the deals. There's all kinds of ways to do this. So so give that URL one more time, and then I have a final question for you.
Yeah. So the URL is landprofitmaster.com if you guys want to go and enroll for that.
We'll put that in the comments too.
Yeah, but I wanted to mention, Ali, something that you just said right now, and that is that the caliber of the women that you attract. Like, I've been now in Premier 2 years, and in part of the trust, the caliber of the women that you curate and that you attract has been pivotal in our ability right now on the educational space, for example, to pivot. I met one of the ladies there that is a master expert, and in social selling, which is this is what we're doing right now. You know what I mean? And I am internally grateful to you and her for, being there and having the ability for me to just have, be able to text the right who at the moment that I need them, and them saying, here's a solution. This is how we fix this. This is how you need to look at this. You know what I mean? Just that accessibility to the right who's, especially in critical times, like your network, like they always talk about your network is your net worth, but never is that more important than in these times right now. You know what I mean? Because it's knowing the right who's that are going to help you really anticipate, leverage their experience of having gone through a similar situation, in, say, the coaching space in years past, and so on and so forth. So it was, it's been God sent. I'm like, I couldn't agree more with that. And
on that note, I'm going to show the URL for the trust is jointhetrust.org. And I think you guys can, if you've been following along, or even if this is the first show you're joining us, you can sense the difference in the caliber of women we're hanging with here. And the trust itself is for women in the 7 and 8 figures. If you qualify, please do apply. We'd love to tell you more about it on a private basis. And Michelle has also mentioned the Premier Group. I still do private coaching with select individuals. If you're interested in that, go to alibrown.com. We have a page about the coaching. I think we call it advisory now. Sounds cooler. But if you're interested in that, please just drop us a note. My team be happy to talk with you as well. I think it's just increasingly important that the women at these levels have these different conversations. If you hear how on purpose everyone is, how much wisdom there is in the group, this ain't their first rodeo. You're not in a group where everyone's looking at each other like, well, do we all just follow this model because it's what we were taught? No, we question things. We poke at each other. We give each other great resources. As you go up the ladder, it's really more about your who more than the what. That's going to help solve a lot of your problems. So Michelle, you've been such a great example of that. And any last words of advice for everyone watching, especially, let's say the women who are in maybe a place of fear right now, or they, we have the good days, and then there's the days you wake up and you do want to hide under the duvet, and you don't want to look at anything, and you're thinking, my God, just the world's going to shit, and like, what's going on? And I'm trying to plan this business and I can't really plan anything. Let's all just kind of focus in on what we should be thinking about right now.
For me, what has been incredibly helpful is that you are in the middle of all of this, stuff that is going on right now, and all the different changes that you're having to do inside of your business. And what has been incredibly important to me has been to not lose sight of my vision, because that vision is what brings me, joy every single day, in spite of whatever I might be dealing with right now. You know what I mean? So I would say it's choosing to not forget that vision, to allowing it to pull you, instead of you looking down, at whatever else in all the problems that are happening right now, looking up and keeping that at the forefront. And you have been, exceptional in helping me do that, even during our coaching calls, because I come to you and I'm like, I'm super excited. I'm laying the infrastructure, team, systems, process for us to emerge out of this, in a different way. But at the same time, you're always really good about, okay, and what does that mean, for your vision? And what does that mean for, becoming peerless and becoming a category of one in your industry? So, that has been incredibly helpful for me. It's just making sure that I keep that vision, in front of me, that I'm being reminded of it, that I myself, exercise the self-discipline to bring it forward when I'm having difficult moments and difficult decisions. Okay, this is why I'm doing it, and then all of a sudden you lean into that fear of making that decision, you know what I mean? And 20 seconds later, you make the decision and everything feels better. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's almost like something that you can, lean on and use it to push you past, fearful moments and so on and so forth. So I would say if you right now cannot see it, I think that would be the most important first step, would be to start thinking about how you want to emerge, once this is over, which is kind of also, I don't know if will completely be over, you know what I mean? We are going into, I think, a new normal over the next 2 to 3 years. So it's either, you're gonna have uncertainty anyway. So you might as well, be doing something, taking action towards your, larger vision for sure.
Yeah, that's a good perspective, and I want to wrap up with that. I think that's where, and I have my bad days too. Everybody, like I just have these emotional days. Sometimes you read something or see something or hear something that it just kind of sends you in a spiral. And it's important to know, though, let's pick ourselves back up and look like, okay, so maybe if let's say that a year from now, this crazy stuff is still happening, right? Which I still can't even get my head around, but I know. It's going to be a year from now. Where are you going to be? What will you have in the bank? What will you have done? Right. And so we have no choice but to make these decisions. So Michelle, thank you for being such a great role model of that. Everyone, you got to go check out Michelle's Land Profit
Master.com.
Master.com. And thanks for joining us. And by the way, I made a mention before, and I saw a few comments saying, wait, is this the last one? Just for now, I need a week of no Zoom calls. Like next week, I am Zoom free. I am not doing my hair. I am not doing any shows. Like next week with the holiday week, we're going to just take some time off. I may take more than a week off, but then we're going to be back because I have so many other women I want to be sharing with all of you, and we'll come back. So I'll make sure to announce that. Please leave us a note in the comments. Well, I'm sure Michelle will pop in here too, and I will be saying thanks and answering any questions. And Michelle, thanks, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Ali. Take care. Bye-bye.